We don't have to have it all together to be called by God, and that is beautiful. You're listening to The Well Within, a podcast for sensitive souls who are choosing faith, courage, and authenticity every single day, even when it's messy. I'm your host, Sosa, and together we're having real conversations about trusting God with our whole selves, our hearts, our hopes, and our dreams. So let's go deeper right now.
Hey family, welcome back to The Well Within. It's your girl Sos, and I am coming to you off a 2-day hiatus. I took some time to rest from work. I realized that I have been going and going. In fact, you can hear it in my voice. I just been kind of like on a hamster wheel recently, and one day I looked up and I started to feel terrible, and I said, no, girl, you gotta rest. You gotta rest. And so I want to talk about rest today. Today's episode is about rest. And while I'm experiencing physical rest right now, I want to talk about the rest that's not just physical rest, but rest as a strategy, rest as a spiritual weapon, rest as a statement of faith. For the longest time, I thought rest was something I could earn. Like if I hadn't checked off everything on my to-do list or pushed through feeling exhausted, I just didn't deserve to rest. I didn't deserve to pause. And so I tied my worth to my output, and I thought rest was a luxury that I could only afford once I had everything together. And really, to be honest, I feel like if I wait to have everything together before I rest, I won't rest. I will never rest. And so maybe you can relate. Maybe your mind runs a mile a minute. Maybe you wake up and the first thing you do is reach for your laptop, reach for your phone, or jump to tasks because maybe the world has convinced you that your value lies in your productivity. And to be honest, I know that feeling all too well. I spent a lot of time in the corporate world trying to prove myself, and after I left and I started my own business, I quickly wore this badge of being busy, this busy badge. I was the girl with the color-coded calendar, the sticky notes, mapped out lunches. I even started doing this Pomodoro timer, which I don't knock. I actually still use it till today. But, I felt like if I wasn't tired, then I wasn't doing something right. And so one morning, before I even said good morning to God, and it was still dark outside, running on anxiety already, deep in deadlines, God said something to me so clear in my spirit. And he said, you think that your hands are holding everything together, but they're not. And I just took 2 days to just like regroup and study the word and stay away from work. Because in my mind, everything was on my shoulders, my dreams, my business, my clients, my future. But that's not how God's kingdom works. God is very intentional about rest. Think about it. He spent 6 days creating the heavens and the earth. And on the seventh day, he rested. He didn't rest because he was tired. He rested so that he could model a rhythm for us. God actually built rest into creation. It wasn't an afterthought. It was a foundation. Ooh, that rhymed. He built rest into creation, not as an afterthought, but as a foundation. And we also see it again in Exodus when he commanded the Sabbath, and he didn't just say, rest when you're done or rest when you've caught up with work. He said, remember the Sabbath and keep it holy. That means protecting it, honoring it, treating it as sacred, keeping it holy. So it's not an option. It's not an option. Rest is not an option. And so I began to see that when I push past rest in order to hustle, I'm not actually being productive. I'm stepping outside of God's divine rhythm and God's divine plan for me. So rest is not a weakness. It's telling God, hey, I trust you. I trust that you're still moving even while I am still. That's why the Bible says, be still and know that I am God. And I can translate this to rest and know that I am God. Rest and believe that you are not depending on yourself to make everything happen. Proverbs 3 says, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. And sometimes leaning not on our own understanding means closing the laptop, okay? Closing the laptop at the time we said we're going to close the laptop, even when your list is still staring at you. It's saying, God, I trust that what needs to be done will be done and that I can wait. That's faith. Let me tell you, some of the clearest revelations I've ever received from God didn't come in the middle of me grinding, didn't come in the middle of meetings. It came when I listened, when I allowed myself to just breathe. And another thing is that rest produces fruit. Fruit is produced when you rest. When you're constantly on the go, you start making rushed decisions. You lose your creativity. You lose your clarity. But when you slow down, even if just a little bit, your spirit has space to breathe. Your creativity has room to stretch. Your heart has time to hear God. And some of my best strategies came from rest. They came in quiet, long walks, in airplane seats, looking out of the window, when I wasn't trying so hard to figure it out and just hearing the still small voice of God. And so here's how I started practicing rest. I start my mornings in silence, no emails, no notifications, just me, my breath, and God. Sometimes it's a prayer, sometimes it's stillness, but it always grounds me, just sitting and breathing. And then secondly, I create stop points because at certain times of the day, I close the laptop, even if it's something that I haven't finished yet. Because if I don't create boundaries with my work, my tiredness, my exhaustion will create those boundaries for me. And I keep one day a week sacred. I don't overschedule it. I don't fill it with noise. I just let it be quiet. Usually it's a Sunday for me. But it's so wild how that one day restores me. And then finally, I remind myself that rest is part of the assignment. Rest is not a break from the mission. Rest is not a breakup with God's goals for me. Rest is not me stepping back from what God has designed for me. It is part of it because that is what God has ordained. And so maybe you're in a season where you feel like slowing down is risky. Maybe you feel afraid of missing your moment. Maybe you're experiencing FOMO. But let me tell you something. God will never let you miss what is written for you. God will never let you miss what is ordained for you. If it is meant for you, He will align it with your timeline. He will find you even though you're resting. Rest is not falling behind. Rest is alignment. Rest is strength. Rest is trust in God.